Hello and welcome. Today we're jumping into something that, well, it touches just about every part of our lives, money and personal finance.
Yep. And we're going to unpack some really profound insights from Nisha Shah. She's a former high profile investment banker who basically switched gears to become a financial mentor.
Right, and her whole mission seems to be cutting through all that confusing jargon, giving us tips we can actually use.
Exactly. It's about simplifying things, stuff many of us just weren't taught. We've looked through her work, and there are these really practical principles.
Principles designed to help pretty much anyone, like regardless of income level,
Yeah.
build lasting wealth, find some financial freedom. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so Nisha Shah's core philosophy. It really resonates, doesn't it? This idea that money influences just countless life choices.
It really does. And she points out something crucial: the world is often kind of trying to pull your money away from you,
Yeah, whether that's through like rising costs, inflation, or just constant marketing, right? It's everywhere.
which brings us to the emotional side of money. That's huge and often ignored.
Totally. Nishi talks about this thing she calls the invisible backpack. These money beliefs we inherit, often without even realizing it. They shape everything.
Like how you think about earning or spending or saving.
Exactly. Think about, did your family talk about money like it was stressful? Or was it an opportunity? That stuff sticks with you.
Uh,
And then there's the ostrich effect, that cognitive
oh,
bias.
yeah, where you just avoid looking,
Right.
like at the bank statement after a big weekend or those unopened bills.
Precisely. You avoid it because, well, you're afraid of what you might find. And she explains that this avoidance is exactly what keeps people kind of stuck financially. You can't move forward if you don't look.
Fascinating how deep those emotional patterns run.
Mm.
Makes you wonder, how did someone like Nisha coming from high finance get to these insights?
Mm.
Was there like a specific moment?
There really was. She talks about seeing her mentor, someone in banking she thought was totally secure financially, lose her job overnight, just like that. And that was a huge turning point for Nisha. It made her realize if you give someone else the power to feed you, you're also giving them the power to starve you.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. And that became her catalyst. It drove her to take control of her own financial education, her own journey. It's about reclaiming that power.
Okay, so she doesn't just point out the problem. She actually gives us a roadmap out.
Mm-hmm.
And her path to financial freedom, it starts somewhere surprisingly simple, doesn't it? Not with complex investments right away.
Not at all. Step one is all about building what she calls a peace of mind fund.
Peace of mind fund. Okay, what is that exactly?
It's saving just 1 month of your core living expenses. So, mortgage or rent, utilities, minimum debt payments, car payments, the absolute must haves.
Just 1 month.
Just 1 month. And she stresses this isn't necessarily the best move mathematically, like for investment returns, but it's absolutely crucial for your psychological well being, for that peace of mind.
Right, it takes the edge off immediately.
It really does. And get this, having just that 1 month saved puts you ahead of, what is it, 59% of Americans
Hmm.
and 30% of people in the UK, people who couldn't cover a sudden $1,000 expense.
That's a huge number of people.
It is. So this fund, it acts like a psychological force field, gives you calm when life throws a curveball, you know, broken boiler, car trouble. It combats that constant financial anxiety.
That immediate security, yeah, that sounds invaluable. But okay, for a lot of people, even saving 1 month feels tough if they feel like they're drowning in debt already. How does she suggest tackling that financial bleeding before building up the funds?
Ah, good question. That brings us straight to step two, cut the financial bleeding. This is where the numbers really matter. Nisha says you have to focus on paying off high interest rate debt.
High interest, what's the threshold she uses?
Anything above 8% interest, that's her guideline. She uses this great analogy: trying to save while carrying that debt is like pouring water into a bucket with holes in it.
Right, and wondering why it never fills up.
Exactly. Your money is just leaking away. This especially applies to credit cards. She notes, look, they can be good for points or rewards
If.
only if you pay them off in full every single month without fail. Because if you miss payments, that high interest just wipes out any benefit you thought you were getting. The costs just massively outweigh the perks.
That bucket analogy, yeah, it makes it very clear. So once the bleeding is stopped or at least slowed down, what's step three? What's the next piece for long-term security?
Step three is build an emergency buffer. Now, this is bigger. This means saving 3 to 6 months of those core living expenses we identified back in step one.
3 to 6 months. Okay, why the range?
The general guideline is 3 months if you're single with a predictable income, but aim for 6 months if you're the head of a household or if your income is less predictable or you have a mortgage, more dependents, more buffer.
Makes sense.
And what's really interesting here, kind of counterintuitive maybe, is research from Vanguard. It shows that having this emergency buffer contributes more to your emotional well-being than even earning over $200,000 a year.
More than earning 200K. Wow.
It just provides that crucial breathing room, that security. They even found it improves work productivity because you're not constantly carrying that background stress about potential financial shocks.
That's a really powerful insight, that a solid cushion can actually feel better than just a higher salary. But, with the cost of living always seeming to go up, saving alone, even 6 months worth, it feels like it might not be enough long term.
You're absolutely right. And that's where Nisha takes a crucial next step, beyond just saving.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Exactly. Step 4 is investing. Nisha is super clear on this. You cannot save your way to retirement.
Oh.
Not with rising costs and inflation eating away at savings.
So saving is crucial, but it's not the end game.
It's not the end game. The most powerful tool you have when it comes to investing is time. That's because of the power of compounding.
Ah, yes, compounding, the magic eighth wonder of the world, or whatever Einstein supposedly called it.
Something like that. But it's true. Your money earns returns, right? Then those returns start earning their own returns. It creates the snowball effect, exponential growth over time.
So starting early is key, even if it's small amounts.
Absolutely key. Let that snowball roll for as long as possible. Now, when it comes to where to invest, she highlights 2 main avenues.
Okay.
First, your employer-sponsored retirement accounts. Things like a 401k in the US or a pension in the UK. Contributions often go in pre-tax, which lowers your taxable income now, and the money grows tax-deferred.
And the company match.
Yes. Definitely check with HR about company matches. That is literally free money. Don't leave it on the table.
Seriously.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the work route. What's the second?
The second is individual tax-advantaged investment accounts. Things like ISAs in the UK or Roth IRAs in the US. With these, you typically invest money you've already paid tax on, but then it grows and, crucially, can be withdrawn completely tax-free later on.
Within certain limits, right?
Within annual limits, yeah, like £20,000 for an ISA in the UK or around $7,000, $8,000 for a Roth in the US, depending on the year and your circumstances.
Got it. So you get these accounts set up, powerful tools. What does Nisha suggest actually putting the money into? How do you keep it simple but still effective?
Keep it simple and think long-term. That's the mantra. She strongly recommends index funds, like the S&P 500, which tracks the 500 largest U.S. companies, or the FTSE 100 in the U.K.
Low-cost funds that just track the market.
Exactly. They're not actively managed by expensive fund managers trying to beat the market, which most fail to do anyway. Instead, you own a tiny slice of hundreds of companies. It gives you broad diversification automatically with really low fees.
So if one company tanks, it doesn't sink your whole investment.
Precisely. And historically, these broad market index funds have returned around 8 to 10% per year on average over the long haul.
Okay, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Any other simple options?
Yeah, she also mentions target date retirement funds. These are designed to be really hands-off. You pick a fund based on your expected retirement year, say 2050, and the fund automatically adjusts its mix of assets, becoming less risky, more conservative as you get closer to that date.
Ah, so it does the rebalancing for you.
It does. Makes it easier to just set it and, well, maybe not forget it entirely, but certainly not tinker with it too much.
Wow.
And speaking of tinkering, there's this fascinating behavioral insight from a Fidelity study.
Oh, yeah.
They looked at which accounts performed best over time, and guess what? The top performers belonged to people who were dead.
Dead people. Seriously.
Seriously, because they obviously weren't making any changes, weren't reacting to market news, weren't panicking and selling. The second best group, people who had forgotten they even had the account.
Wow, that really says something about letting emotions drive your decisions.
It absolutely does. Fear and greed are terrible investment advisors. The data shows just staying invested, staying the course, usually wins. Nisha herself, she apparently allocates less than 2% of her own portfolio to more speculative stuff like crypto, only after these solid foundations are built.
That Fidelity study is brilliant. A great reminder to just, chill out and let compounding work. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and challenge some widely accepted financial ideas, starting with a big one. What does all this mean for the whole property ladder dream that so many of us have?
Right. The property ladder myth, as Nisha might call it. She argues that buying a house isn't automatically the best financial move for building wealth.
Really? But it feels so fundamental.
It offers huge psychological comfort, absolutely. That sense of stability, security, putting down roots. Can't discount that. But purely financially. Studies show renting can actually be cheaper than buying in many areas, especially when you factor in all the costs, mortgage interest, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, transaction costs.
Okay, so renting might be cheaper month to month sometimes,
Yeah.
but aren't you just throwing money away?
That's the common argument, but here's the crucial point Nisha makes. If you do save money by renting compared to buying, you must be disciplined enough to actually invest that difference consistently. That way, you're creating your own forced mechanism of saving, similar to how a mortgage forces you to build equity.
Okay, so it requires discipline if you rent.
A lot of discipline.
Yeah.
She shares her own story. Her London flat appreciated maybe 10% over 8 years, but during that same period, the S&P 500 index more than doubled in just 5 years.
Whoa. That really highlights the opportunity cost, doesn't it?
Exactly. Opportunity cost, that invisible concept that's so important. Every pound or dollar you spend on one thing, like a large down payment and ongoing housing costs, is money you can't use for something else, like investing in the stock market.
We often don't think about what we're giving up.
We really don't. She gives this striking example. A $100 team lunch. Seems trivial, right? But if you invested that $100 in the S&P 500, assuming that historical 10% return over 40 years, it could grow to nearly $5,000.
$5,000 from one lunch compounded over time. That's sobering.
It really is. It makes you look at those small, casual spends a bit differently. Now, life isn't just about maximizing returns, obviously. You need to enjoy the present. But it puts that balance between today and tomorrow into sharp focus.
Definitely. Okay, shifting to another potentially sensitive area, money and relationships. That causes a lot of friction for couples.
Oh, absolutely. It's consistently one of the top 2 reasons couples argue. Often it boils down to a lack of transparency and not being on the same page about goals.
So how do you even start that conversation without it turning into a fight?
Nisha suggests some low-pressure ways in. Like, ask your partner, hey, if we won $10,000 in the lottery, hypothetically, how would you want to spend it? Their answer can reveal a lot about their core values around money. Are they a saver, a spender, an experiencer? Without making it feel like an audit.
That's a clever approach. Non-confrontational.
Yeah. And she also says it's vital to talk about those inherited money beliefs, that invisible backpack we mentioned. Understanding where your partner's habits or fears come from fosters empathy, not judgment.
Okay, and what about actually managing money together?
Mm.
Should couples merge everything?
Interestingly, Nisha advises against fully merging finances. Instead, she recommends a system with 3 pots, essentially.
Okay, pot.
Yeah. A team fund for all the joint expenses, rent, bills, groceries. Couples contribute to this, maybe proportionally based on income, not necessarily a strict 50-50 split if incomes differ.
Okay, proportional contribution makes sense.
Then, crucially, each person also has their own separate me fund for their individual spending. This allows for personal financial autonomy. You don't have to justify every coffee or purchase to your partner. It reduces conflict significantly.
Team fund and me funds. That sounds like a good balance between shared goals and individual freedom. All right, so beyond saving, investing, and managing relationships, what about growing your actual income, especially if you feel stuck at a lower level?
Super important point. If your income is low, Nishi stresses that prioritizing increasing it needs to come before you get too aggressive with investing. You need fuel for the fire.
Okay, so how do you do that?
2 main strategies she discusses. First, ask for a pay rise in your current job. This means doing your homework, build a strong case based on your value and accomplishments, research market rates for your role, be aware of potential gender pay gaps.
Use data.
Use data, understand your value, maybe leverage HR or allies within the company. The second strategy, switching jobs.
The job hop. Does it
Right.
really work?
Her personal experience, and lots of data backs this up, showed much bigger pay jumps, like 20 to 30% when switching companies, compared to the typical 3 to 10% annual raise you might get staying put.
That's a significant difference.
It can be. Now, what about passive income? That buzzword everyone loves.
Right, making money while you sleep.
Well, Nisha brings it back to basics. She reiterates that for most people, investing like in those broad index funds we talked about is the easiest, most accessible form of genuine passive income. Your money is working for you. Other things people call passive income, like side businesses or selling digital products, they often require a ton of active work up front to build.
Yeah, they're not truly passive, at least not initially.
Exactly. They might become more passive later if you scale them, but investing is passive from day one once you've put the money in.
Good point. Okay, what about modern tools? And maybe some common spending traps we should watch out for.
On the tool front, she mentions the rise of AI in finance. It's becoming more accessible. She shared an example of someone using ChatGPT, believe it or not, to analyze their bank statements.
Really? What did it tell them?
It apparently helped them spot they were overpaying on investment fees and even found some high interest savings accounts they didn't know about. So, AI can be a useful starting point for objective data analysis, finding information.
But it's not the whole picture.
Definitely not. The human emotional side, the personal goals, the decision making that's still on you. Then there are credit scores. Super important, often misunderstood.
Yeah, they impact so much loans, mortgages, even renting sometimes.
Absolutely. You need to understand your score and keep it healthy. Check it regularly online. It's usually free. Make sure all the details are correct. Simple things help. Pay bills on time, every time. Make sure you're registered to vote at your current address. Even sometimes increasing your available credit can help as it lowers your credit utilization ratio.
Good practical tips. And what about those spending traps?
Ah, yes. Cars are a big one. Often an emotional purchase, but they depreciate like crazy. She generally recommends buying used cars, maybe 3 to 5 years old, to let someone else take that initial depreciation hit. Or maybe leasing, but only if you're wealthy enough that the cost isn't a major factor.
Avoid that new car smell premium.
Pretty much. Grocery stores, too, they are masters of marketing, strategic product placement, impulse buys at the checkout, be aware, and technology upgrades. That new phone feels great initially, but the happiness boost often fades fast, diminishing returns.
Yeah, the upgrade cycle is relentless.
It is. And all this ties into lifestyle inflation, that tendency for your spending to rise right along with your income. Nisha's advice: be conscious. Actively try to widen the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Don't just let your lifestyle inflate automatically.
It really does all circle back to being intentional, doesn't it? Making conscious choices. So if we try to connect all these principles, how might they apply differently depending on where someone is in their life? Like specific advice for different people listening.
Yeah, Nisha offers some tailored thoughts. Let's take a few hypothetical examples. Imagine an Andy, early career, maybe lower income right now. For him, time is his biggest asset.
Right, that compounding runway.
Exactly. So the advice for Andy is start saving and investing now, even small amounts, regularly. Let time do the heavy lifting. And his 20s are the time to take calculated risks. Maybe pursue skills in a high-growth field or work at that risky but potentially rewarding AI startup. He has time to recover if things don't pan out.
Play the long game. Decades over dopamine, as she says.
Precisely. Now, what about Lisa? Mid-career, maybe has a mortgage, has some decent savings already, feels ready to invest more seriously.
Okay, what's the advice for her?
First, double check. Is that emergency fund, 3 to 6 months, fully funded? Is all high-interest debt gone? Tick those boxes first. If yes, then for investing, the advice is keep it simple. Keep it long-term. Focus on those diversified index funds or maybe target date funds. Don't overcomplicate it. Manage the emotional side. Avoid tinkering. Stay the course.
Makes sense. Steady and simple. Now a tougher one, Matt. Single parent, maybe lower income, high rent, struggling with credit card debt, feels like he has no time.
Yeah, that's a challenging situation. For Matt, the absolute #1 priority has to be tackling that high-interest credit card debt. Nisha calls carrying that kind of debt running with weights on your ankles. It's holding him back massively.
So debt first. Then what?
He needs to look for immediate income increases. Can he make a case for a pay rise at his current job? Is switching companies feasible for a significant bump? Explore those urgently. If those options are exhausted, then look for ways to earn extra income that leverage his time, not requiring capital he doesn't have. Selling things secondhand online, maybe renting out a spare room if possible. Focus on stopping the bleeding and boosting income first.
That really shows how the priorities shift based on the situation. It's practical. What about Nisha herself? How do her own choices reflect these values she teaches?
Her choices seem very aligned. She apparently rarely buys designer stuff, unless it's for pure utility and quality, prefers versatile clothing that lasts. She sees books as an infinite return investment. The knowledge gained is invaluable.
Values knowledge over material things.
Seems so.
Yeah.
And think about her career change. Taking that massive 84% pay cut from banking, walking away from a six-figure bonus.
That takes serious conviction.
Huge conviction. She said she realized the biggest risk wasn't the pay cut, but letting the opportunity to help people in this way pass her by, that sense of purpose. Her fulfillment comes from seeing people move from feeling trapped by money to feeling free. She talks about becoming obsessed with your path, letting your inner voice guide you louder than external doubts.
Well, okay, so wrapping this up.
Ultimately, I think what we've really explored today is that personal finance, it's not just spreadsheets and numbers, is it? It's so deeply connected to our emotions, our values, and just the intentional choices we make every single day.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. What is one small, deliberate decision you could make with your time or maybe your money starting today? Something that, through that power of compounding, could lead to a really different, maybe more fulfilling future for you in 10 or 20 years. Something to think about.
Thank you for your attention. You can subscribe to our podcast if you like it.
See you next time.